Welcome to the Perspective Podcast. Josue here. As you guys probably already know, from the Democratic Republic of Congo, I attended the Oral Roberts University. I preach at times. Well, I guess I'm preaching on Sunday, but we don't want to get into that too often.
That's right.
We have Chase Brown here. He was born in Texas. He attended the University of North Texas. You already know he's an inspiring philanthropic creative. And guess what? It's almost, are we in the spring or in the summer?
I guess technically spring, almost summer.
Spring, almost summer, so you already know. That means more days outside. Since there's more days outside, that means more beach time. And so it's going to be a crazy summer for him.
Oh, yeah.
So he's very excited about that. But today we have another topical conversation for us. I think it's applicable because we're in America, and America is really known for this. And I think a couple of times when we've done like cultural conversations, we've really kind of talked about this a little bit.
Yep.
In comparison. So what are we talking about today?
Yeah, man. Yeah. So to steal a Josue word, story time a little bit. Yeah. I was driving over here and, we're recording on a Friday night and end of a long week for both of us. Josue was like, hey, let me get in a little nap. Yeah, and then you can come over and record. But in it, I was driving over. I was like, okay, like what do we want to talk about? Like, even like, do I really want to record this episode? Do we really want to? Because, with now Josue having his own spot, which is looking clean. Mm-hmm. Good job, bro. Me making the drive over here. Do I want to drive over here? Me forgetting some equipment and then like just all this stuff and like
the equipment make you change your mind.
Yeah. just like not being in the mood for it. And something that hit me of like, am I and are we, just recording this podcast just to produce something, just to produce creativity, just to work, to produce work, or is there something more to it? And this idea of like production and work, and like so often, like as humans, we're judged based on our production and our work, like how much we can do, and like for examples like pastors on the sides of their churches, missionaries on the number of salvations that they get, businesses on their money, artists on the quantity and quality of output. And in it, like the Lord like struck me with some things which I'll share here later. But in it, I don't know, at least I don't think me as a Christian, that I don't have too good of like a grasp on work and production and a biblical perspective on it, what the Father's heart is for it, and sometimes don't walk it out as well as I wish I could. And so, from there, that's kind of just the topic, production, work, all of that. So Josue, what's your thoughts, my guy?
Yeah. So I think there's, obviously like we come from a place of like, there's almost, you could look work. We're talking about the monetary work, the one that produces finances, not so much the spiritual work of like, I'm gonna do all these things so God can love me, accept me, all that stuff. We're not talking about that. So we're strictly discussing like working. First and foremost, get a job.
Yeah.
And that's not to be mean, but that's biblical. There's a verse that says, he who doesn't work doesn't eat. Essentially. There's a verse that says, he who doesn't provide for his family is worse than an unbeliever. There's a verse, I believe in the Proverbs.
That's a real one.
Yeah, that's a real one. There's a proverb that talks about like the lazy man just always makes excuses that there's this going on, there's this situation going on, and then poverty strikes him. Yeah. So we obviously understand that the Lord is our provider. In his provision, he calls us to work. And calls us to steward and all these awesome things. And I want to still chase the stuff. So we're not saying don't work.
Yep.
Get a job, But I think then once you do have a job, right, where do we get our value from that? I think we're in a country, because we live in America. So let's talk about America. And then there's those of you that may not live in America, give us feedback on how it is where you are. When you meet somebody, what's the number one question?
What do you do?
See, you guys already know it, right? And then what do you do? Someone is going to share with you what they do, and then that's either going to impress the other person, or it's going to be like, okay. How do I know this? When people go on dates, I feel like as a guy, like you always want to almost like almost spice up what you do.
Dress it up a little bit.
Yeah, dress it up a little bit so it sounds professional.
Oh, yeah.
It sounds, you start talking about the 401ks, you know how to do in the show.
Ain't no scrubs in here.
Yeah, you want to show that you're able to provide somehow, some way, and so I think those things, obviously they're good, but I do think that it's easy for us to get our value in those things, because we also know that because there are some people that they find they're boasting in their jobs, in their careers, in their success, and in doing so, they compare others. They almost look down on others who may not have the same thing. How do I know this? Well, I don't really listen to a lot of pop or country. I'm probably more familiar with rap music. Yeah. And obviously when you listen to rap, everybody's flexing, right? Everybody's flexing because of their achievements. So we understand that we're in an achievement kind of culture, right? And I think also just being sports people, we see that whenever we hear from like former athletes of how, whenever they go to schools, I remember listening to Inside the NBA, Charles Barkley and Shaquille O'Neal and the other guys were talking about when they go to school, how the kids quickly ask them about what kind of car do you drive, because those things are a measure of success. So we live in a culture where work equates to success, and depending on the work that you do, it's so funny that we're talking about this, actually. I was just scrolling on Instagram, and I saw this guy that, I don't follow him, but I know who he is. And so I went on his page because he does a lot of almost like media stuff. Like he's probably works at like a smaller, but he's known, known guy. And he was responding to a video of a woman who was saying that she wouldn't date a bus driver, but she wouldn't date a man that's a bus driver, but she would date him if he was the bus owner. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because kind of just trying to give value to who he was as a person based off of his occupation. Yeah. So that's the kind of culture that we live in, is we're kind of framing that. So it's funny that we're talking about this actually, because I was thinking about it earlier. But that's the culture we live in, and so obviously, as I started off, working is good. We need to work, provide for our family, provide for ourselves. The Lord gives us resources. He's our source. He gives us resources through the means by which we have occupation. Jesus worked, the disciples worked, people work. So that's not, money's not going to fall out the skies. You work. God opens doors in that kind of way. But it's how do we then not get caught up in the system of we define ourselves by our success. We define ourselves by our cars, our houses, our monetary things. Oh my goodness, this is so crazy. I'm talking a lot. I'm about to end it.
No, you got it.
Sunday. Now I'm thinking about it. Sunday.
Okay.
Pastor Craig, shout out to Pastor Craig at my church. He was preaching about Revelation 3:16. That's to the church of Laodicea. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And you know what was wrong with the people of Laodicea?
What's that?
They were very affluent.
Okay.
In their being very affluent, Jesus wrote to them, that's the lukewarm church. Because they're so affluent, they had money, they had means, and all these different things, and Jesus gave them a harsh rebuke. The church got so caught up in the monetary, in the wealth that they had, in the means that they have. At one point he told them, like, you guys are blind, you're naked, you're poor. Even though they were rich, he told them they were poor. So all these kind of just connecting to say that, hey, working is good. Yep. We want everybody to work, right? Because obviously you want to provide for your family. It's better to give than to receive all the good stuff. Working is good. Let's avoid the trap of success, especially kingdom success. Success doesn't equate to what's in your bank account, what car you drive, what house you own. That's not where your value comes from. So I know I spoke a lot, but what are some of your thoughts, work, productivity, all that good stuff?
No, all that's amazing, man. And just to mainly add on to what you've said, because you laid the foundation of work is something that's good. And as we can see a lot from Genesis, like work is sort of central to our purpose here on earth. to where Adam was called to cultivate the earth. You know, if you look down at like the deepest root of what work means, like that's where in part it comes from. And so in it, to add on top of that, I want to have this question that we start to dive into of kind of the meaning of work. So we've established that work is good, but then from there adding on to it of like the meaning of work, the motive of it, and just everything. And the main thing that the Lord was convicting me about on the way over here is he told me, you don't need to produce, you need to steward. You don't need to just produce another podcast. You don't need to just work another day. You need to steward that day. And part of what that stewardship looks like is the verse, whether you eat, drink, work, whatever you do, do it to the glory of the Lord. And that can mean a lot of things. That looks like as vessels of his glory, bringing our nature into that, bearing fruit there, inviting his presence into there. Sharing with people about Jesus there. So many different ways that you can bring God glory in your work, but in it, steward it. And something that I also want to say with this is, does this mean that, you know, because I say like, okay, you don't need to just produce, steward. But a question, which you answered, like, does this mean that we weren't made for work or that we shouldn't want to work? No. And this was something on a retreat that I was at a couple weeks ago that was hitting me of like, in reality, like if we only work because of the money it brings or whatever it brings, then I would encourage us to re-examine our relationship with work. There's a book called Garden City by John Mark Comer that I would encourage all of us to read that changed my perspective so much on this. But if we're only working to get money, then we're not seeing work as valuable, just the money is valuable. And we're not seeing that the benefit that we're bringing, we're not seeing that our work is benefiting society. We're not seeing that our work is cultivating the earth and all of that. And in it, obviously, from a surface level, there can be more jobs, or there can be jobs that you can see as, you know, furthering society more than other jobs. But I would really encourage you to pray and seek the Father's heart for how this is helping the people around you, how you're serving the people around you, whether you're producing a good, whether you're serving people, even at a fast food window. You're bringing them, like if you're working at Chick-fil-A, you're bringing people joy. Like that should not be discounted by you or by anyone else. But to circle back, like, as I kind of said, does this mean that we like weren't made for work or that we shouldn't want to work? No, there should be an inherent desire for us to want to work. But it does mean that our work is different than the world's work in almost every single way. Off of the standards, off of the motive, the meaning, the fruit, the focus, the priority, the attitude, in almost every single way. And so we can't get caught up in, we can't get caught up in the ways of the world. We can't get caught up in the things of this world, the standards of this world, all of that. We're called to something different. And for me, like the truth was that like, I didn't want to just come here and just produce another podcast. And in it, I didn't want to just do that because there's not meaning in that. I didn't want to just work another day. I didn't want to just get through another podcast because there's no meaning to the just getting through it. I wanted to invite the Lord into it. I wanted to see what his heart was for it, to ask him, to give him the time and the space to speak, and like simply invite him into this. And in it, sometimes he'll speak, but sometimes he won't. But it's cool because he's given us the Holy Spirit to help us with discernment. And that's a beautiful thing. And so in it, our work as Christians is different than other people around us. And if we pursue that righteously and in a right way, it'll encourage others around us to pursue the proper meaning for work. And I think that if we pursue the proper meaning for work, from there, that'll kind of grow out into all the other areas of life. If we learn, okay, this work that I'm doing right now is to the pleasure of the Lord, not to me affirming my identity. Okay, that'll help whenever you go out to have that conversation of what do you do? Be like, oh yeah, I do this. Like, but it's, sort of nonchalant thing. And even in that, you're then able to get out of that societal loop and ask them something other than, what do you do? Because the thing is like, you're not wanting to sort of self-validate yourself by seeing, somewhat, do I work a better job than what they do? Oh, what is this? Like, sure, small talk. It's like, okay. Sometimes you just ask them what they do, but sometimes I kind of really wonder, like, are we asking that just so we can answer what we do? And it might be like we see if we're better than them. But yeah, and I think it affects all the other areas of life. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. Those are some thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's obviously, like, everything's intertwined, right? Like, there's, you work, you're able to get paid, take care of yourself, family, take care of others. Like, all those things are like kingdom principles, right? Like, the aspect of generosity and, being able to give, like, all of those things, like, the way we're able to support the church, the house of God. We can't do that if we don't work. We have to, we work, we're able to give, we're able to steward those, the church is able to steward what has been brought in. I mean, that's always been the concept, right? Like, you even look in the Old Testament, whenever the 12 tribes are being kind of like they're given all the land distributed. The Levites, there's the ones called into, the priestlyhood and all that.
Yep.
That's all they did.
Yep.
But everybody else worked.
They just took care of the sanctuary and the temple.
The sanctuary and did like that has to be. I mean, that's a scary job, but it was a little bit different. And I don't know when it happened. I'm actually really curious. I feel that. I think we've probably talked about it a couple times or just mentioned it, but sometimes our calling, quote unquote calling, gets wrapped up in this whole nonsense as well.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I got to figure out what my calling is. And there's kids that are trying to go to college, or they're trying to figure out what their calling is, and they equate my calling with what my 9 to 5 is. If that's the equation and that's the answer you're getting to, that's not what the Lord, that's not even like scripture. That's not scripture. Your calling has nothing to do with 9 to 5. If the Lord places you at a school, great. Serve people, love people, share the gospel, bring glory to the Lord, all those things. That's calling. The Lord places you as a CEO, great, more responsibility. Serve people, love people, the glory of God, all of those different things. And so I think if we focus on our calling in the sense of like, wherever I am, I'm going to bring glory to him.
Yeah.
Wherever I am, my light's going to shine. And wherever I am, people are going to know Jesus through my life lived and the words that I speak. I think that lessens the load a little bit more, instead of us trying to figure out like, I don't know if I should go to this school. I don't know if I should apply here. It's like, what do you enjoy doing?
Yep.
What has God given you grace to be able to do? Like, find that thing, to your point, steward the gift that you have. It produces something, it's able to bring you something. And wherever you get to the place that you see yourself going. So what this does, it eliminates the thought of, well, then we shouldn't have ambition. Sure, have ambition. If you want to be a CEO, be a CEO.
Yeah.
But have the right intention, have the right motive behind it, have the right heart to. If God's going to put you in a position to be a CEO, you have to steward a lot more than you probably would if you were just, I guess I like to say team member. Like if you were just part of a team, there's more responsibility there. There's more stewardship there. There's more
eyes on you.
Yeah, there's more eyes on you, like all those different things. And so there's nothing wrong with having that passion and that desire to want to do that, and the grace to be able to lead others. That's actually a biblical thing. God has given us gifts, And so it reminds me of the verse that Peter says that we got to use all the gifts that God has given us for what purpose? To serve one another. Like you were talking about, like it's all about serving. Whoever want to be the greatest, got to be the servant of everybody. I believe it's Hebrews chapter 6. I want to say the verse talks about that the earth the earth that receives the rain or something like that and produces fruit, that earth is blessed, right? It's blessed. But if it doesn't if it produces fruit, I mean, let me just read it. I'm butchering.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sorry,
you got
guys.
it. You got it. Yeah, let's treat the writer of Hebrews with some respect.
Yeah.
Whoever that man is.
Yeah. I'm like, this dude is anonymous. The earth. Yeah, we bring up verses as we go. That receives, right? Receives rain. Did you already find it?
Nah.
No, I was asking the people listening.
I hope y'all did.
Yeah,
I have.
I'm sure they did. Come on, Hebrews 6:7. I knew it was Hebrews 6. I actually really enjoyed that verse. I think it's
Yo, verse 10 is fire for me in that chapter.
what was it, 6:10?
But yeah, 6:10. For land that has drunk the rain that often falls on it and produces a crop useful to those for whose sake it is cultivated, receives a blessing from the Lord.
Yeah.
But if it bears thorns and thistles, it is worthless and near to being cursed, and it is and its end is to be burned.
Yeah, and I think there's both spiritual and like practical implications to this verse, right? Like receiving rain, it comes down, and something comes from that, something's produced from that, something is stewarded from that, but it's for the purpose of serving. You know, we're not just producing abundance just for the sake of abundance sake. You know, like you were talking about. You know, we're not just trying to get rich just to get rich. You know, it's like, how do I serve? How do I steward my finances in a way that blesses others? You know, how do I steward my job in a way that advances the kingdom?
Yep.
I think that should be, hopefully that should be our heart, you know? Yeah, I don't know. That's just kind of what I was thinking about when it comes to this, because I know there's like, you're in school, you're graduating. Shout out to all the people graduating right now.
Oh, yeah.
I know there's a lot of y'all, you're excited, you're about to go into the world, the workspace, and don't get caught up in that, you know, in as they call it, the rat race, because at that point, you're just a rat.
Yeah, and to encourage, like your first destination is not your final destination.
Don't forget the days. Don't despise the days of small beginnings.
Exactly. Yeah, you aren't going to have the perfect job coming out. You aren't going to have the perfect situation coming out. Granted, you won't whenever you're 85 either. But in it, God's gifted you something to be able to steward in that time, to be able to oversee, to manage, to submit to Him, and to be able to love others with. And it's just a step along that journey, being able to grow. Yeah, because I mean, if you wanted the perfect situation right off the bat, here's the thing. On your first day that you're going to be on earth, you're going to be a spouse, you're going to be a parent, you're going to be all this stuff. Whenever it's like, no, that's literally not possible at that time. And so in it, take everything one step at a time. Don't compare yourself to others. Don't let your parents pressure you. If it's wisdom, follow it. If it's pressure, just brush it off. And yeah, y'all are going to be good. Y'all got this.
Yeah.
Shout out to the graduates.
Shout out to the graduates. Shout out to you. Y'all studied and you passed. We know it's 4 long years, you know, so that's tough. Shout out to you.
And if it was longer, it's okay. You got through
that's
it.
Okay. That's okay. You're not in a race against people, you know.
Yeah. We'll bet. Any last thoughts, my guy?
Yeah, I mean, let's challenge one another to steward relationships well. You know, to bring value to those that we're around. Hopefully live with the heart of generosity. I feel like as soon as you listen to this podcast, someone's going to hit you up, hey, bro, I need some money. You know how that goes. But, you know, if you have, right, the love says that, you know, 1 John talks about it. If you are able, that means if you're not, you know, there's no judgment there. But if we're able, let's try to help out a brother, help out a sister, help those that are around us. Be a good Samaritan, you know, things like that. Y'all know the story. So, yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, bro. That was good. And yeah, my last encouragement is just don't just produce something else. Don't just make it through another day of work. Seek the Father's heart and what He has in it. So, yeah, y'all. That'll be a wrap for us today. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. More episodes, more guests coming soon. Now that I'm actually back in town. For more than 5 days in a month. All of our information will be in the description below if you want to support us, the podcast, the outreaches, everything that we're doing. We're having our end of fiscal year fundraiser here at the start of June. And so as people want to donate and support what we're doing, that would mean a lot. But yeah, until next time, much love. God bless.